Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto lived with Shanks in One Piece. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by heavydestro and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. It had been 2 full years since the start of the Fourth Great Shinobi War against Madara's armies of Zetsus. Almost all of the Shinobi alliance had been decimated for the most part, including Kumo, Suna and Kiri. Konoha had been rebuilt as stronghold to stop Madara's forces, though it mattered little as Madara had all but assured he would win with his last victory when he captured the 9 tails. All that was left was the 8 tails, and he will be able to complete his Moon's Eye plan. Standing to the side looking at Naruto as he was chained to an altar to hold him down with many different movement and chakra suppression seals. How does it feel, Uzumaki, knowing that you will have lost everything? Despite all your efforts and claims you are the one who lost in the end, it must sting like no other. He said with a twisted grin as he began to draw out the Kyuubi's chakra and began to hear his arch-rival Naruto Uzumaki begin screaming in pain. Madara was grinning as he drew out the Kyuubi's chakra until he saw the Jido Meizo begin to crack from its open mouth to one of its eyes. What? Madara shouted in surprise. Right then the statue began cracking even more as fingers began to fall off of it. Soon the room was filled with the sound of the statue breaking apart and the laughter of Naruto, who looked at Madara with a shit-eating grin. It must sting like no other to have come so close to your final plan despite all your efforts and all your claims, Madara. Madara was wide-eyed with anger. What did you do? Madara shouted in rage, only for Naruto to just barely whisper enough so Madara could hear him say. I won. And with that, the largest explosion the elemental nations had ever seen went off. It wiped the land of Frost off the map, which was where the base was located. Even from Konoha the blast was visible. The quake of the blast was felt all throughout the nations, as many thought it was finally the end of the world. Sometime later in Konoha, all of the tailed beasts including Kurama had arrived to tell everyone what had went down and how Naruto had saved the elemental nations by killing Madara and his armies. Many were torn apart and devoted an entire week to the memory of Naruto Uzumaki and created one nation instead of just all of the elemental nations to realize Naruto's dream of true peace to reign throughout the lands. In limbo, where the hell am I? Naruto asked. Looking around, he saw nothing but white going on and on forever. Until he spotted one man sitting down cross-legged with a large red coat on. Hey excuse me, can you tell me if I'm dead? The man turned around smiling at him. Sure you are, kid, that was one hell of a bang you went out with, though, ha. The man said while laughing his ass off. Naruto looked confused. Wait, how do you know what happened to me? The man then looked at him like he was stupid. Well, I saw it all, of course, from here. The man pointed upwards to a screen showing different things like a pink kid with an antenna fighting some golden-haired guy. I can see everything from up here, Kami herself allowed it, though she specially requested I tell you about the world I came from so I could send you there to give you another chance at living. Oh, the name is Goldie Roger, by the way. He said as he stretched out his hand to shake Naruto's. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Nice to meet you. Naruto said with a smile as he shook the late Pirate King's hand. He then sat down next to Roger's. So Kami herself is giving me another chance, huh? Well, no reason to waste it, so. Lay it on me, what up with your world? Naruto asked as Rogers could only smile at this kid's attitude. It kinda reminded him of himself at that age, only he hadn't gone through nearly as much as Naruto had at his age. Roger then began explaining many things about his world, such the world government and the different kind of pirates he should expect to meet. He went on to explain about the Grand Line and all of its unexpected tendencies. He went through the new world and how he had traveled it all on his adventures. He also told Naruto about devil fruits and the different types of abilities. After he had explained most of the history of the world, he began explaining how to use the seas to your advantage and how to get a ship and take care of it. Finally, he gave Naruto a letter, one that was addressed to Silver's Rayleigh and another to a red-haired Shanks, captain of the red-haired pirates. Naruto thought that was kind of a lame name for pirates, yet couldn't help but think of his mother when he had heard red hair. Ah, thinking of your mother, huh? I'll tell her that when I see her on the other side. Roger said, making Naruto smile in appreciation. Alright, kid, that's about it. Oh, except for a couple other things. Kami said she didn't want you using your chakra too much, so I guess you won't be able to use those jutsu thingies. You'll only be able to use them to walk on water and walls. Oh, and those seals of yours, you'll be able to use them too, and from what I saw they're very handy. Naruto nodded, extremely proud of his seal work. After all, it was a family tradition. Last but most definitely not least is this. Roger said while producing a fruit that looked like the Maramara no Mi, except it was black at the bottom and slowly began cracking like patterns of red towards the top. Oh, is that a devil fruit? Naruto said with excitement. Roger just nodded with his own smile. Now my boy, this isn't just any devil fruit, this is a mythical's own type devil fruit model. Fenrir the Unbound. In legend this beast could not be kept bound by any force whatsoever, he was mightier than even the gods. When and if you eat this fruit you will gain the abilities of Mara Mara no Mi, along with the Magu Magu no Mi on some level, whilst being able to transform into a beast of like world has never seen. Naruto was practically foaming at the mouth, want to have those cool powers. Shut up and give it to me. Naruto yelled as he lunged and swallowed the thing whole. Aughhh, it tastes like shit. Naruto yelled out, making a scrunched up nasty face. He only looked over at Roger to see him laying on the ground roaring in laughter. Oops, I forgot to mention all devil fruits are the worst tasting thing on the Grand Line, ha 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 ha. You bastard. I'll get you back for this, mark my words, Naruto said while coughing from the horrible taste. Suddenly he was kicked in the back and began falling. You'll have to die first, brat, ha 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 ha, Roger said as he was laughing his ass off at Naruto. Naruto could hear Roger's voice begin to disappear. As Naruto was falling, stopped right before he hit the ground and fell down harmlessly. Naruto looked around and noticed he was in Sabaody archipelago. He also noticed he was dressed in black boots and black pants, along with an open orange button-up shirt with black buttons. Also, much to his dismay, Naruto was returned to the fine age of 14. So you want me to meet up with Rayleigh first, huh? Alright, I'll bite. Naruto then began going towards where Rogers told him he'd find him at if he ever went to Sabaody. After wandering for a while, Naruto began to hear explosions. Naruto, being drawn to this, began running towards the sounds only to come upon an overlook, seeing the entire scene. Now Naruto wasn't named the leader of the Shinobi Alliance for nothing, he began looking around, noticing key things. Like everyone, people were running from a certain direction, looking towards that direction he could see buildings being set on fire. Also, the people who were running away had chains and shackles on them, which lead Naruto to believe they were all slave, most of them probably undeservedly so. Roger had told him such things went on with the celestial dragons, so it wasn't too hard to figure out. Naruto then spotted 3 girls running as fast as their legs could take them. One was rather tall with a large head and lime green hair, the middle one was short and had black long hair, and the other one to the side had orange hair and was middle in terms of height. The girls kept running only for them to be stopped in their tracks by what looked to be a vice admiral, if he deduced correctly. This man had a long white jacket which tipped him off in the first place. He was wearing all red suit, a marine's cap on his head, and Naruto could just barely make out a tattoo going up the left side of his neck. That doesn't look good. He said as he saw the man's left head turn into magma. I take it back, this looks horrible. Naruto said as he took off towards the 3 girls, hoping to get to them in time. Naruto was just about there when the man who was about to burn the 3 girls to ash was stopped by a sword of all things by another man in white-headed jacket, so you could only make out the bottom of his face, which was a white short beard. Naruto, however, took the advantage of the vice admiral being distracted and leapt towards the magma man. Naruto cocked back his left fist as it turned black with red, heated up cracks with claws at the fingertips. He smashed his fist against the man's head, sending him through a couple buildings and finally into a third one as it crumbled on top of him. Hey, I don't know who you are, but that probably won't keep that guy down for long, we should get out of here. Naruto said a bit frantically. That would be a smart thing to do, kid. The man said, taking the hood from his head, showing his white long hair and white beard. He also had a scar running across his right eye. He also wore a pair of silver glasses. Naruto's eyes widened when he saw who it was, but before he could say anything the man turned to the girls. Can you 3 still move? The one with black hair shook her head. We're too weak, we haven't been fed in a couple days. Before Rayleigh could say something there was glow from behind him and the girl's eyes widened. He then turned to see a black and grey wolf twice his size, extremely muscular, looking at him with blood-red glowing eyes and red glow from its mouth that made it look like it would breath fire at any second. Its arms up to the triceps were black, cracking with red, along with its legs up to the knee. Along its body it and some black chains wrapped around it and hanging free as if it had just broken free from them. Rayleigh was completely shocked and was about to attack until it spoke to him. What are you waiting for, Rayleigh? Get the girls on me so we can get out of here. The beast said in a familiar yet deeper and darker voice. Kid? Rayleigh asked, a bit surprised, only to get a nod from the beast. Naruto then laid down as Rayleigh placed the 3 sisters on top of him. Come on, let's go. And with that, Rayleigh began running at breakneck speed, followed by Naruto in his beast form, with the 3 sisters riding on top of him, holding on by the chains for dear life. Naruto had heated up his body so the girls wouldn't get too cold from the wind blowing in their face. After some time they finally stopped at a place called Shaki's Rip-Off Bar. Alright, we're here. Rayleigh said. Naruto laid down so the girls could get off of him. Once off, Naruto began changing back into a kid as everyone watched in amazement. Naruto stretched out, getting some kinks out of his neck and shoulders, not noticing everyone's looks. Finally opening his eyes, he scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Ugh, hey, the name's Naruto. He laughed a bit to himself. Rayleigh motioned for them to follow him inside the bar. As they did they saw a tall slim lady who Rayleigh introduced as Shaki and another little lady with snake staff known as Nyan. She explained she was there to bring the girls back to Amazon Lily, but they would have to wait for things to cool down since an admiral would be coming to the island since the celestial dragons were attacked. As soon as the girls found they were staying there for a while they decided to lay down were out like lights. Rayleigh looked at Naruto who was looking over to the sister shaking his head. Rayleigh had seen many things and could detect many things from different people. Yet the only thing he was getting from this kid was experience, far too much experience for a kid his age. "How do you know who I am, Naruto?" Rayleigh asked. Naruto jumped as he was knocked out of his train of thought. "Oh, I almost forgot here," he said as he gave the note from Rogers to Rayleigh. Rayleigh opened the note and began reading it as his eyes widened further and further. He then looked at Naruto with a smile. Well Naruto, I thank you for giving this to me. It was excellent to hear from my captain after so long. So he said you had quite the adventure to tell me about. I can only assume from what my captain said is that you're not actually how old you seem to be, huh?" Naruto laughed. "Yeah, I'm actually 18, but that doesn't matter to me much anyway." Naruto then sat on the couch a seat away from the girls as he began to heat himself up so they might catch some of the warmth he was giving off. "So let me tell you my story," Naruto said as he began running through everything in his life from the beginning to the end. After it was all said and done it had been 4 hours and during that time all 3 girls had unconsciously migrated over to where he was sitting. Sanderson and Marigold had ended up on his right and Hancock on his left. Naruto was smiling a bit but as it was now 1 in the morning he was getting tired. "Well, get some sleep, it'll be a long wait until we can get your training started so not to draw the attention of the Navy," Rayleigh said as he walked into a back room after throwing a large cover on all 4 of them and with that Naruto went straight to sleep. Waking up, Hancock was about to scream when she realized she was leaning on another boy. This was until she also realized this was the same boy that had helped save their lives last night. She then noticed the 3 black whisker-like marks on his cheek. Curiosity getting the best of her, she began to run her fingers along them only to get a deep purr from the back of his throat. There was only one possible thought running through Kawaii. Did he just purr? He did. Calming herself down she leaned over and woke up Sanderson and Marigold. Waking them up she silently calmed them down, then directed them to rub his whisker marks, which caused him to keep purring out loud. After about 20 minutes of constant petting Naruto began to wake up seeing all the girls up close to him and their hands on his face. Can I help you 3? Jumping back with blushes they all shook their heads no in shame at being caught. Did you know when your whisker marks are touched you purr?" Hancock asked shyly. Naruto only scratched the back of his head and nodded. "Were you girls enjoying that?" He almost busted out when he saw them nodding. He only leaned his head back. "Well, if it entertains you go ahead. It's like getting a face massage for me," he said as he closed his eyes. He soon felt their hands go back to rubbing his marks much to his and their enjoyment. This was the image that Nyan, Shaki and Rayleigh came to see. Nyan let out a loud cough which scared the girls into a sitting upright position with embarrassed look on their faces. "Damn it. I was enjoying that too," Naruto said as he opened his eyes looking at a smirking Rayleigh. "We decided that we'll be sailing to Amazon Lily with a coated ship, that way we can slip right past all of the Marines," Rayleigh said as Naruto and the others nodded. Naruto followed him to a ship coated in bubble-like material. The ship wasn't anything special, just a normal everyday ship. Once under the water Naruto and the girls got a bit nervous, the girls more so than Naruto who knew to break off some wood and just float to the top of the water where he could walk on. Naruto walked over to the sisters and smiled at them. "Don't worry, I'm sure we'll get through this easy enough." They all nodded with a smile at him. "They might get through this easy enough, but you won't," came the voice of Rayleigh. Naruto turned around just in time to catch a wooden straight sword. "Your training begins right now with swordsmanship." Naruto only sighed as he could tell Rayleigh was about to kick his ass. And after about 2 hours of non-stop sparring Naruto really wished he had Kurama with him. Well, he was harder to damage thanks to his devil fruit, of which Rayleigh didn't seem notice as evident on the bruises that were all over from his legs to his shoulders. Naruto simply stood up looking at Rayleigh while breathing normally, just in some pain from the hits that landed. Which were most of them. "So how did I do?" Rayleigh smiled. "You actually did very well, all of your reflexes are still in top condition, because of that there were a couple of your strikes that almost got me. The thing you really lack is a style and a proper grasp of swordsmanship. That will all come to you in time, my boy, so don't worry about it. Just go get some rest and we'll continue in a couple hours." Naruto did as he was told and went to sleep for a while until waking up to the sound of water slowly going by. He walked onto the deck of the ship to see Hancock looking at the other two's back. Naruto silently walked up seeing the mark on their back, it looked like a weird dragon's claw. Marigold and Sanderson put their shirts down and turned to see Naruto behind Hancock. What did you see?" Sanderson asked Naruto, who only shrugged. "I saw that mark on your back. Why, what is it?" Before the sisters could say anything Nyan came out. That my boy is the slave mark of the celestial dragons. Naruto looked at them as all of their heads were down in shame. I could remove it if you want me to. He said casually. All three of their heads shot up in hope. How would you do that? Naruto smiled. It's called sealing, it's an art my clan mastered and used long ago, it had many different uses. If you want I can take it away forever or I can create it a new image if you want. He said with a smile. Hancock smiled widely along with her sisters. Could you make go away please? Naruto nodded happily. I just need some ink and a brush. He said turning to Rayleigh who nodded and went to get both. Alright, I'm going to need full access to your back, if you want we can do this with you three in a room. Naruto asked as they all nodded. After they went into a room, Naruto had Marigold go first. I need you to remove your shirt. He said shyly as he turned around so he could remove her shirt. Once she laid down with her back up and uncovered, he began putting on the seal, which took about 20 minutes to do. Once he was done, he put both hands on the center and said seal. Slowly the seal began receding into the center as the mark itself disappeared. Hancock and Sanderson were amazed at what they just saw. How is that possible? Sanderson said. Well, it was branded on, so all I had to do was make the skin repair itself so the brand would no longer be there. After repeating the process with Sanderson and Hancock, all three of them were eternally grateful to Naruto for what he had done for them and told him he would always be welcome on Amazon Lily. Naruto just thanked them and walked out the room to give the sisters some time alone. Naruto was sitting on the deck leaning back in a chair with his eyes closed. Well, hearing about those seals and seeing them firsthand are really something else, Naruto. Rayleigh's voice came from the left of Naruto, who looked to see him leaning against the railing. Yeah, that's what I said to when I first saw them. The best part about it is that once I complete my dad's special seal, I'll be on a whole other level than most people have seen in this world. Naruto said with a huge grin. I believe you, kid, because once I'm through with you, you'll be able to hang with some of the top pirates. By the time we meet up with Shanks, your training with me will be complete. Shanks will probably have a couple tips for you that I don't, since I haven't been out in the world all that much since the captain died. Rayleigh said with a sad smile. A couple days later they had reached Amazon Lily, and much to the amazement of Naruto and Rayleigh, they were both being hailed as heroes. Naruto was especially surprised since all he had heard was that no men were allowed on the island. Once Hancock was in the palace, she was declared the rightful empress and began her duties as the ruler of Amazon Lily. Naruto had gone on walks with sisters around the kingdom and was even named the unofficial king by some of the women who always saw him with Hancock or the three sisters. Due to Hancock's request, Naruto had shown her his transformation again, although it was just him and her this time. He told her if he wanted you could change the size he was and demonstrated by becoming 20 feet tall while on 4 legs, so when he stood just on his 2 back legs, he was about 40 feet tall. It had been about a week since they had made it to the island, and Naruto and Rayleigh were getting ready to set sail to an isolated island so that Naruto could complete his training with Rayleigh. Once they were getting ready to get on the small ship, they were flagged down by the newly named Gorgon sisters, which were Hancock, Marigold and Sanderson. Naruto-kun, do you have to leave so soon? Sanderson said with sadness, watching Naruto leave. Naruto only nodded, looking at them sadly. Well, since you're leaving, we brought you a present from each of us. Sanderson said as she produced a black hooded jacket that was outlined and laced inside with crimson red coloring went down to his calves. On its left shoulder was the emblem of the Kuja pirates, and on the right shoulder was an emblem and a wide outline of a wolf with its mouth wide open like it was about to bite, but with its eyes and throat fired red. All across the bottom and the wrists a crimson fire design was put on. After she handed it to him, she leaned down since she was the tallest sister and therefore taller than Naruto and gave him a light kiss on the cheek, much to his surprise. She then moved back and Marigold produced a eternal log post for Amazon Lily. So you'll always be able to find your way back to us. She smiled shyly and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Once she stepped back, Hancock pulled a long object from behind her back. I thought this would be good since you're learning swordsmanship from one of the best. She said as she unwrapped it. It was stone, so it doesn't matter if you're fighting a devil fruit user or not. Hancock said with a smile as she quickly jumped at him and wrapped her arms around his neck, pulling him into a deep kiss. Naruto was surprised but kissed her back, wrapping his arms around her hips, deepening the kiss. After a couple moments, Hancock pulled away. You're the only man who will ever be allowed to do that to me, understand? She said in a sincere yet serious voice. Naruto nodded. I will return to you, Hancock-chan. After all, I think every queen needs a good king by her side, don't you? Naruto said with a grin. Hancock nodded and kissed him one last time before letting him go onto the ship. So where are we going? Naruto asked Rayleigh, who just laughed. It's called Rusakana. It's perfect for training. It will make you constantly adapt to the seasons of which change weekly and have many different kinds of animals ready to eat you. Rayleigh said with a smile on his face. Naruto's sweat dropped and just shook his head. I can see you're really excited about putting me through the ringer, huh? Naruto asked only for Rayleigh to nod. Once they made it to the island, Rayleigh pulled in the small ship and smiled. Well, let's get started. By the end of this, your swordsman skills will be top-notch, along with your hockey skills, which will be the first thing I explain. Naruto just nodded and walked into the forest with him ready to go through hell to be able to protect his precious ones like he had did in his last life. Only this time he wouldn't let so many die while he had strength. Naruto was not to come out for years until his training was complete, and when he would be a whole different kind of beast, the likes of which the world had yet to see. 3 years later, Naruto was on the island alone as Rayleigh had left 1 year earlier. Naruto was now taller than he was at his original age of 17. He was now 6'2" and had his blonde hair in its normal spiky style. Naruto's wardrobe consisted of gray and black camouflage pants that were tucked into his black boots. He had changed his orange button-up shirt to red with some seals and had actually kept it buttoned up but untucked. He followed this all up with the jacket Sanderson had given him, deciding to keep it open today. Naruto, depending on the way he was feeling, either kept his sword in his hands or had it in a seal on his right wrist. Right now he decided on carrying it in his right hand. Naruto then walked to the edge of the island, only to be greeted by the sight of Rayleigh on a very large ship, flying a flag of skull with 3 slash mark going across its left eye. Well, looks like it's time to get started. But before I do, I think I'll see my girls again. Naruto said. The eternal log post to Amazon Lily poofed into his hand. Let's go. Naruto was looking at his eternal log post to Amazon Lily, while remembering his queen beau Hancock. Soon, I'll be seeing you soon. Naruto said with a smile as he began walking on the water towards the large red ship. Flying the Jolly Roger of the red-haired pirates. Many of the crew go wide-eyed at seeing Naruto simply walk across the water. Shanks is also amazed to see such a thing could be done, and so casually. Sure, Rayleigh had told him all about Naruto, but to see it firsthand was something else entirely. Once Naruto got to the ship, he simply leapt up to the top of the deck smiling. Yo, old man Rayleigh, been a while. Naruto said as Shanks laughed at Rayleigh's unfortunate nickname. So you're Naruto the Unchained Beast, huh? Shanks said with excitement. That's the rumor. Although I wasn't aware I had a nickname, you have anything to do with that? Naruto said, looking at Rayleigh, who was whistling a jaunty tune while looking away. Naruto only shook his head, smiling. Well, obviously I'm red-haired Shanks. Shanks said, holding out his right hand to shake. Naruto shook his hand, returned with a smile. So where are we heading, Captain? Naruto said with a laugh. Shanks only raised an eyebrow. Why? Did you have some place you wanted go first? Naruto only nodded and tossed him the eternal log post to Amazon Lily. He then saw Shanks' face drop, much to his confusion, until he pulled out some money and put in Rayleigh's hand. Rayleigh was laughing. I told you it's the first place he'd want to go. Naruto only had a vein in his head as he snatched half the money out of his hand. Ha hey. Naruto simply put the money into a seal and smiled. That's the fee for betting on my, you old goat. Naruto said, which only made Shanks and his crew burst out in laughter as seeing Naruto talk to the Dark King in such a way. Alright men, full sail to Amazon Lily. Shanks yelled as the crew began setting sail. Naruto walked up to the helm with Shanks. So Shanks, how big of a deal are around these waters? Judging from the way Rogers and Rayleigh talked about you, you've got to be pretty high up on the food chain, huh? Shanks only laughed at his observation. You could say that, I guess, since I'm one of the Yonko. Naruto stopped, completely wide-eyed, and Shanks. When we hit land, I want to spar against you. Shanks' face fell into a frown and pulled some more money out of his pocket and threw it at Rayleigh again. I'm gonna kick his ass. Naruto said while shaking his head. Shanks just laughed at that. Please kid, you might as well take on Whitebeard while you're at it. There aren't too many people left from their age of pirates. But the ones that are all strong beyond comprehension. I myself don't know if I could take Rayleigh if it was one-on-one fight. After all, he is the one who taught me how to use a sword, just like you. Naruto nodded, then smiled. So we're students of the same teacher, huh? I guess that makes us brothers of a sort, huh? Shanks looked at him wide-eyed for a moment before smiling and nodding. Hahaha, I guess you're right. From now on we're brothers. Shanks said as he dapped him up. Naruto let go of his hand and was about thinking about how strong Shanks could really be. Hey Shanks, can you do something for me? Shanks looked at him confused. Depends on what it is. Naruto smiled. I want to measure my haki up to yours, so I want to unleash the full force of my haki, and then I want you to unleash yours. Shanks only thought about it for a second before nodding. Hold on a second though. Hey. Everyone, Naruto and I here are about release our full haki, so try not to faint, got it? Getting an yes captain from his crew, Shanks nodded to Naruto, telling him to proceed. Naruto then released his full haki, and the wood began to creak and crack under the pressure. Some of the lower crew members were brought to their knees under the mighty pressure. Shanks smiled and began to nod to himself. That's quite impressive for someone who's only been training with haki for 3 years. It took me double that time to get where you are now. Shanks said as his grin widened as he released his full haki, only with his superb control narrowed it down to where Naruto was standing. The effect was immediate as Naruto's knees began to buckle under him and the floor began to bend under the pressure. Naruto was sure had he not had experience with the strongest killing intents in his world, he would have been on his knees gasping for air. Finally Shanks began containing his haki. Naruto was then able to stand up without a problem. "So what do you think, little brother?" Naruto nodded thought for a second before nodding to himself. "I still want to fight you to see where I stand in terms of skill and not just haki. But as it stands from that I think it'll take a couple years of intense training before I can match up to what you just showed me." When he was done Shanks' eyes widened. What do you mean it'll only take you a couple of years to get up to where I am?" Naruto grinned at seeing his reaction. "Like I said, it'll take a couple years of intense training to get to where you're at. And the only kind of training I do is intense." Naruto said with smile as Shanks just nodded along with him. "You know Naruto, you're not too far off from Yonko. Especially if what Rayleigh tells me is true. He said you already have the same if not more combat experience that I have, and that right there is almost half the battle. In terms of rank I'm probably the second strongest Yonko with Whitebeard in the lead and Big Mom and Kaido fighting for third and fourth." Naruto nodded. "I'll have to do my research on both of them since I'll be fighting one of those two." Naruto then looked at Shanks with a sly grin. "Or I could always just take your spot." Naruto joked as Shanks laughed along with him. "Whenever you think you can take it I'll be glad to accept the challenge," Shanks said as he began steering the ship again. "So how long till we get to Amazon Lily?" Naruto asked. Shanks then got a slightly evil glint in his eyes and put a teasing yet goofy smile on. "OHHH, is someone ready to see their girlfriend?" Naruto only blushed a bit and then got a vein in his head. "Hell yeah, I wanna see her again." "What about you Shanks, you got any girlfriend?" Naruto said teasing him back. Shanks only grinned. "Maybe there might be girls somewhere out there who's caught my interest," Shanks said with a smile. "But if I did have a girl out there it would have to stay secret, otherwise she would be in a whole lot of danger," Shanks said getting a bit more serious. "I'll let you meet her when we go back to her town, but that is to never leave your mouth, got it?" Shanks said with stern look making Naruto nod. "After all we can't all have warlords as your girlfriends now, can we?" Shanks said going from serious to goofy in half a second only to get a seriously confused look from Naruto. "Warlord, what the hell do you mean warlord?" Shanks' face lit up like a light bulb. "Oh that's right, you've been on an isolated island for 3 years huh? Well the world government has 7." He was cut off by very upset Naruto. "I know what the 7 warlords of the sea are Shanks. But I also know Hancock-chan hates the world government, so what did they do to make her join them?" Naruto said with very concentrated look thinking about the things the world government would pull, which was just about everything. "I don't know, but whatever it is I'm sure it's not good. The world government isn't known for asking nicely," Shanks said in a somber tone. He then put a hand on Naruto's shoulder who nodded. "Let's just get there so I can talk to her about it." "Captain. There's marine ship at the island," the man in the crow's nest yelled down. Shanks began turning the ship around to get on the island from the back. "Naruto, you can walk in the front door if you want. We're gonna hide the ship so it doesn't cause problems for the Kuja pirates." Naruto nodded and then ran to the edge of the ship and jumped off and began running across the water. It only took him a couple minutes to reach the docks. Once he got there he jumped onto the docks and began walking towards the palace. He had his hood down so everyone would see his face. As he walked through the inner city, all of the women began cheering at having their unofficial king back. The 30 or so marines who were waiting outside guarding the royal palace were confused when they heard cheering coming from the city. They then noticed a man in a long black jacket was walking directly towards them. "Halt," one of them said as the others began to draw their weapons only for an invisible wave of energy to hit them, knocking them out. "Idiots," Naruto muttered as he walked into the palace, much to the amazement of the Amazons, as he had just knocked out all of them without lifting a finger against them. Naruto was walking towards the royal hall where meetings were held. He could hear raised voices coming from them that sounded like Hancock. Naruto was able to make out something like 10% is more than enough. Naruto then came to the door and kicked it open, catching everyone's attention. The said marine was a vice admiral named Cancer who had slicked back blonde hair, shaded glasses with scar running across his left eye and a cigar in his mouth. "Who the hell are you? This is Anne. Shut up. You foolish man," Hancock said with venom. Then before she could move Naruto was already in front of her with his arms around her waist, kissing her deeply. Hancock wrapped her arms around his neck. After a couple minutes of non-stop kissing, much to the delight of Sanderson, Marigold and especially Hancock, there was cough that came from the Marine Vice Admiral. Naruto then pulled away, much to Hancock's dismay. He then turned to look at the Vice Admiral. "Can I help you?" Naruto said, annoyed. "Yes. How the hell did you get in here? I ordered my men not to let anyone interrupt this meeting." Naruto shrugged. "I think they were sleeping when I saw them," Naruto said innocently. Answer, however, was less amused and grit his teeth. It doesn't matter now anyway. Back to what we were talking about, 10% is too low, we at least need 15%, otherwise we'll be forced to. The vice admiral was cut off as an enormous amount of haki was released of the likes he'd only seen from higher vice admirals who had conqueror's haki. He was only able to stand for a moment before dropping down to one knee. What's going on? He said, trying to keep conscious. What exactly did you mean when you'd be forced to do something? Because you stopped mid-sentence so couldn't hear you. Perhaps you would like try and say that again. Naruto said as he got dangerously close to the marine. I was saying we'd be forced to take the 10%. Naruto nodded with a smile. Good, that's what I thought you said. Now get out. Naruto said as he released his haki, then watched the vice admiral walk out with his tail between his legs. That was great, Naruto-kun. Hancock said, hugging him tightly. Naruto smiled and hugged her back. So how have my girls been doing him? He asked, looking from Hancock to Sanderson then to Marigold. Sanderson was the one who spoke up. We've been alright, as you can see we had some pest problems, but besides that everything is going great. She said with a smile. Hancock looked Naruto up and down. You look like you're doing very well yourself, Naruto-kun. Naruto blushed at the compliment. The training Rayleigh put me through was pretty crazy, but it all paid off in the end, Naruto said, flexing his arms with a goofy smile. Hey Sanderson, Marigold, can we have a minute alone please? Both sisters nodded, then bowed and finally walked out of the room. He then grabbed Hancock's hand and led her to the outside balcony, all while gently giving her hand gentle little kisses. Hancock, tell me what happened that you were forced to join up with the Navy. Naruto said in a serious yet soft tone. He brought Hancock into a deep hug from behind as he wrapped his arms around her waist and put his head on her shoulder. She gently brought her hand up, caressing his whisker marks, electing a deep purr from him. How long have you been waiting to do this? Naruto said with his eyes closed as he was in heaven from receiving this facial massage. I've been waiting ever since you left, my beloved. She whispered in his ear, sending a delightful chill down his spine. Naruto turned around to face him and gave her a quick kiss. Hancock, what happened with the Navy? He asked again. Hancock put her head down in shame. Hey, it's okay, whatever happened we'll fix it together. Naruto said as he lifted her head by gently holding her chin up. He said if I didn't become one of the 7 warlords of the sea, they would send the Buster Call on Amazon Lily and wipe them off the map like they did to O'Hara. Hancock said with tears forming in her eyes. Naruto quickly pulled her into a deep hug, running his hand through her hair. Don't worry, I promise in just a few of years the Marines won't dare come anywhere near Amazon Lily. Naruto said as he looked down at her, smiling. Naruto-kun, how do you know that? She asked her with a shaky voice. Naruto began to grin, showing his elongated canines as he ran his hands up and down her back down to her hips. I'm going to become the next Yonko by taking out the current ones. Naruto said, which surprised Hancock to her core. Hancock's mouth was wide open in shock until she grabbed him by his collar, bringing him closer to her face. Are you insane? The Yonko are all more powerful than even an admiral. She yelled, surprising him as he took a step back away from her in shock. You think you can just kill one like you're plucking fruit from a tree? Hancock continued to yell. She then pushed Naruto against a wall, looking at his wide eyes. Turning around, she walked to the edge of the balcony and leaned on it. Do you even know how powerful they are? Because I don't. I've only ever heard of their power. Hancock then took a deep breath in and out and began speaking in a lower tone voice. And they are considered the strongest of the 3 great powers of the world. If the 4 Yonko ever joined forces, the Marines wouldn't stand a chance along with the 7 warlords of the sea. And you're just going to kill one? She then turned around to see Naruto with a fierce look in his eyes. Naruto began walking towards her, every step released his hidden power like a dam breaking open until he finally stood in front of her. His full power now bearing down on her and everything around, as she could now see and hear the tension in the wood railings and the red marble tile floor as both began to crack under the pressure of his full might. Hancock then realized this wasn't the goofy wolf boy who rescued her or even her beloved Naruto-kun, who showered her with love. This was a beast among men, the like she had never seen before. She wasn't sure if this was what being around a Yonko's full power felt like, but if she ever imagined it, it would be something exactly like this. If it wasn't for the fact that she knew Naruto would never harm him, she would have been terrified of him at this moment. Naruto looked at her dead in her beautiful ocean blue eyes. Naruto's own eyes were colored a glowing red. Soon though the pressure of his power left her and Naruto's eyes were back to normal. I'm leaving again and I'm going to train with red-haired Shanks. Naruto said once again, shocking Hancock. He gave her a kiss on the forehead and pulled out the tri-pronged kunai from his jacket. I made these myself. It uses a special seal that allows me to travel anywhere where this marker is. Naruto said, pointing to the marking on the handle of the kunai. Stab this into anything and I'll be there in an instant, but only use it for emergencies. Naruto stepped back away from her with a certain pain in his eyes. I won't be gone any longer than 4 years before I return. In the meantime, I hope you gain more confidence in me. After all, I'm your king, right? Naruto asked Hancock with a sad smile. Hancock only silently nodded and threw herself at him. I do have confidence in you Naruto-kun, it's just that I don't want to lose you. Hancock said. Naruto then held her by her shoulder, pushing her away a bit. You should have enough confidence in me to know I would never die on you facing a Yonko, Admiral or worse. The blonde said. Hancock only nodded to herself a couple times, then spoke up. I will have confidence in you Naruto-kun. I know you can do it. She shouted as she then deeply kissed him. Now go and make a name for yourself my kingly beloved. Hancock said with extra enthusiasm. Naruto nodded then stepped back. He flashed her his $1 million smile before it disappeared in yellow flash. Appearing back on Shanks' ship, Naruto looks over to Shanks and gives him a thumbs up. Shanks then gave the command to set sail towards the East Blue. Yo Shanks, why are we going to the East Blue? I thought it was the weakest of the seas. Shanks nodded to him. Some say it is, even though Roger himself was from the East Blue. We were already going to the East Blue for a little vacation, it just so happens that's the perfect place for me to train you. He just got a questioning look in return from Naruto. How? Well, first off, I have a couple of bases there that are on deserted islands. Perfect for training people of our caliber, so not to destroy anyone's home or worse kill someone. Next, the last thing we want is someone scoping out your powers, and the last thing someone will be looking for in the East Blue is one of the Yonko. Naruto just nodded his head, seeing his logic. So how long will it take us to get to the East Blue? Shanks just looked up, putting a hand on his chin. Well, I think it'll take us about a week to get there since we're moving straight through the calm belt. But to get where we want it'll probably be about 2 weeks. After a couple of hours of partying, it was just Shanks, Naruto, Rayleigh and a couple other people keeping watch. So you both sailed the Grand Line and New World. Do either of you know where One Piece really is? Naruto asked both Shanks and Rayleigh, leaning against the railing of the ship. Shanks shook his head negatively. Nope, Captain didn't tell me where it was at, although I've been to Raftel, the island where supposedly One Piece is. Naruto then looked to Rayleigh. Yeah, I know where it's at. Why want to become Pirate King? Rayleigh asked with a smile. Naruto took a moment to think about it and then looked up with a straight face. Nah, being Pirate King doesn't interest me as much, crushing the world government under my boot. Both Shanks and Rayleigh raised an eyebrow at this. You want to destroy the world government? Shanks said, more than surprised. You know, I think I heard of a small group called the Revolutionists devoted to that exact purpose. Shanks finished looking at Rayleigh, who nodded in confirmation. Well, if they ever send me an invite I'll see what they're about, but until then I'll do things my way. And plus I want to become a Yonko before I start on something that big. Shanks nodded along with what he was saying. You're definitely going to need a strong crew. Being a Yonko isn't just about being the strong, you're going to need strong people to follow your lead, although I'm sure you'll find them along the way. Shanks said with a smile. Naruto only widened his eyes. I know the perfect place to get people for my crew. Naruto said with an evil grin. Shanks and Rayleigh just looked at each other a little worried. Rayleigh was the one who decided to speak up. Oh. And where exactly is this place? Naruto then looked him in the eyes. The same place we first met. Rayleigh's eyes widened a bit. That's actually an excellent, you'll be pissing off the world government and hopefully gaining some strong crew members. The only other option would be to go to Impel Down, and that's not worth the risk of getting caught. Naruto then nodded to himself. Since we're passing by Sabaody, we could actually do it in a couple days and get your crew started with whoever would decide to join. Naruto smiled and nodded toward Rayleigh as Shanks began changing their heading a bit. Alright boys. We're gonna go free some slaves, got it? Most of his crew looked at him weirdly. We're going to Sabaody Archipelago. The crew all nodded as Ben Beckman walked up to his captain. So we're going to help the kid become a Yonko. Shanks smiled and nodded. Placing him in the position of a Yonko will be extremely beneficial to us, and it's better than having Kaido or Big Mom in power. Ben could only nod, knowing that both of the other two Yonko were extremely dangerous and unpredictable. Also, on some level each were both tyrants of their own territories, Big Mom threatening to eat anyone because of her sweet tooth, and Kaido just killing anyone who stood in his way. We'll be at Sabaody in about a day, so get whatever you need together, got it? Shanks said as more of a statement to Naruto, nodded and went about sharpening his weapons and making sure his seals were all set for battle, since there were bound to be some high-ranking marines in Sabaody, and even higher would be arriving, since he didn't plan on leaving any celestial dragons alive if he came across one. Naruto that night slept like a baby, knowing he would begin his new family tomorrow. He had so badly wished to be accepted in his old world, only for it to mildly happen towards the end of his life. Now though, he had a new chance, a new begging, and he would make sure he made this time around count for him. The next day at Sabaody. Alright Naruto, you're going in on this one alone, we're going to keep the ship hidden in Grove 21. Having a Yonko show up in the middle of anywhere would cause a lot of fuss, not to mention we don't want the celestial dragons running away with their slaves. Naruto nodded and let Shanks continue. Just make sure you get a couple people to join you. You don't want too many people since you don't even have a ship yet. Naruto gave Shanks a salute and jump of the ship and began walking towards Sabaody. So all I need to do is go to the action house and I'll be set. Naruto thought to himself as every so often he would swipe his hand across a wall, tree or object of some sort to put a Hiraishin seal on. As Naruto kept walking he noticed the area was getting better looking, like more high-end. Been a long time since I've been here, but I think I'm headed in the right direction, bingo. Naruto sung in his head as he saw a celestial dragon walking with a train of female slaves behind him. A noble was walking right towards Naruto's direction much to his pleasure, he then walked right in the nobleman's path. Just as he was a couple feet away from the nobleman who was about to say something, Naruto unsealed his sword with the quickness. Before anyone could make a move, the nobleman's head was rolling on the floor, along with his motionless body. The guards were so shell-shocked at what they'd just seen they froze. Which in the presence of a trained killer is the last thing you should do. Before they could even look back towards Naruto, he had already slayed 5 of the 10 soldiers. The only problem for the ones that noticed him didn't notice the kunai by their feet as they all began to draw their weapons. Before they could even pull them out, they had all been killed in a flash of yellow. Naruto looked around and shook his head in a disapproving manner at the lack of skill these security guards had. He then looked towards the train of female slaves. Out of all of them, the 2 most beautiful were the 2 up front, but not only because they were just simply beautiful. You could tell by their physical condition that they were both fighters and skilled from the looks in their eye, as he could tell when he was being analyzed carefully. After slowly walking around and picking up his Hiraishin kunais from on the ground, then sealing them back up, he walked up to the ladies, and with a few trained swings the chains fell apart, releasing the females from the chains. Almost all of them took off except for 2 that Naruto had figured as trained fighters. The first girl was 5'7" and had dark tanned skin, with hazel brown eyes and light brown hair that was put up in a ponytail. She had on a top that only covered her breasts diagonally from the bottom of her neck her sides. She also had on pants, silver scaled pants with a purple rope going around the waist and dropping to about her thighs, and nothing on her feet. Anne. Christy Montero. The second girl was only 5'4", but in a lighter tan complexion. She had dirty blonde hair that was short yet spiked out towards the back of her head, and her eyes were dark brown. She had on a red shirt that stopped be a couple inches above her belly button, showing off her toned abs. She also had on dark blue pants with what looked like metal blue boots with yellow lining. And Sheena from Bloody Raw Primal Fury, just without her jacket on. Naruto looked at both of them with a slight grin on his face. I'm Naruto Uzumaki and I'm putting a crew together and I want you 2 to join. They both stopped, eyes widening at this. There's a ship not too far from here that's ready to take us whenever we're ready to go, although I kinda wanted more people to join up with me. Naruto said, looking around. We can help you with that, and I'll agree to be part of your crew if you help rescue my boyfriend. He's a strong fighter. We just surrounded by 3 Marine Vice Admirals and their crews. He's with the other male fighters back at the auction house. I'm Christy Montero, by the way, the taller of the 2 said. Before Naruto could answer back, the other girl interrupted. I'm Sheena and I'll join since I do owe you my life. On top of that, my senses are telling me that you are trustworthy, Sheena said as she and Christy began to guide Naruto towards the auction house. You're pretty crazy, you know that. I hope you know you're going to have an admiral after you now that you just killed a world noble. Sheena said as Naruto just shrugged. It doesn't matter, I'll be Yonko in a couple years and they won't dare to step in my way. Naruto said as both Sheena and Christy's eyes widened. How exactly do you plan on becoming a Yonko? Christy asked, a little scared. I'm going to kill Big Mom or Kaido. Yup, Christy's fears were confirmed. She just signed up to die, she thought to herself as they reached the auction house. Walking in, Naruto looked to the center stage to see what looked like multiple warriors of different races and styles. Naruto looked to Christy. Which one is your boyfriend? He asked in a whisper. She then pointed to a rather large black man with dreads put into a ponytail. He was wearing some blue cargo shorts and black boots. He also had on some colorful wristbands. Naruto nodded. You 2 cause a scene while free everybody down there. They both nodded and got to work, although Naruto got a pretty good surprise when he saw Sheena turn into humanoid cheetah and began ripping the rich people and guards to pieces. Christy was doing the same, only doing what looked like some dance kicks that were knocking people out like Tyson hit him with clean right hook. Naruto then threw a kunai down to the center stage and with a couple swings of his sword, he cut the chains off of them. You, Naruto pointed to Christy's boyfriend. Go talk to your girlfriend, she'll fill you in on what's up. The man only nodded and jumped up with ease all the way to the top where Christy was. Naruto then turned and looked at the rest of them. Listen, this is all optional, okay? I'm putting together a crew. Anyone who's not into killing or harming innocent people and can hold their own is more than welcome to join. When Naruto was done, a lot of people just began to run out of the action house, either because they just didn't want to join or they were evil bastard. Naruto then looked to see 2 men standing in front of him. The first was a light skin, black hair put into a ponytail and looked like he was in his early 20s. He was about 5'8" and had on a red and black kimono that he let fall off of his right side. He had them tucked into dark green hakama pants with a beige belt tied around his waist and Jetta sandals to finish it off. "My name is Mitsurugi and it would be an honor to join your crew since I am forever in your department captain," he said with a bow. Naruto smiled and nodded and looked to the other man. He was in his teens and about 5'7". He had short white hair with black eyes. He also has one large tattoo of crow covering his chest with a tattoo on each of his shoulders. He had on black gloves, orange pants with large stripes going down the sides and normal black shoes. "As long as I get to fight some strong opponents I'm down. Oh, and I'm Rayleigh by the way." Naruto nodded to him as well. "Well then let's get the hell out of here." He turned and looked at the other three who were around the action room. "Oh, we're leaving, get over here," Naruto shouted. Soon Sheena, Christy and her boyfriend were all around him. "So how the hell are we getting out of here, just standing here?" Rayleigh asked. "Everyone put a hand on me and try to stay calm." Everyone nodded and put a hand on him. "Stop right there." Everyone looked up to see two Marine Vice Admirals. One of them pointing at them, the other had his sword in his hand. Naruto just shook his head. Fools. Within less than a second everyone who was touching Naruto had all felt a tingling sensation and were back on the red-haired pirate ship. Once the others had realized they were on a ship they began noticing things like what ship it was. Some of the crew members it didn't quite sink in until the man himself, red-haired Shanks, walked down the steps in front of their new captain. Shanks just smiled and slapped Naruto on the shoulder, then looked at the 5 people behind him. "Whoa Naruto, looks like you've gotten some talent, good job." Naruto just scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. He then turned to his new crew and stepped back. New crew, red-haired Shanks. Shanks meets Sheena, Rayleigh, Mitsurugi, Christy, and you know I never got your name. The man then snapped out of his stupor when he was elbowed by his girlfriend. "Oh, I'm sorry, my name's Eddie Gordo." Naruto laughed and then nodded. "And Eddie Gordo." Shanks nodded to them all. "Well, since you're part of my little brother's crew, feel free to make yourselves at home." They all nodded like dummies at the same time. Mitsurugi then decided to speak up. "Excuse me Captain, where's our ship and where are we going?" Naruto looked at him and put his finger up in the air. "Well, we don't have a ship yet and we're heading to the East Blue to train away from any other interferences. Also you all should be aware that the training we're all going to go through will be hell. It needs to be after since I plan to kill off either Big Mom or Kaido within a couple years, so you're all gonna have to step up, got it?" Getting a nod, Naruto smiled and began walking away, leaving the shell-shocked new crewmates. It had been a couple days since the attack on Sabaody and it was pretty much easy sailing. The ship was coated with sea stone at the bottom, no one had to worry about the Sea Kings in the calm belt. Not that they really needed to worry anyway, with so many high-level fighters even Sea Kings could sense the danger of attacking that ship. The day was normal, a bit dark and cloudy but no rain. Naruto had decided to let his new nakama to settle in before he had a little meeting with them. Deciding now was a pretty good time to get to know each other, he had called everyone to the back of the ship. "So seeing as we're all going to be crewmates from here on out, I think it's best we get to know each other by sharing our names, where we're from, likes, dislikes, fighting and other skills. Being the captain I'll go first I guess," Naruto said with a shrug and looked around seeing everyone was paying attention. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I come from Sabaody Archipelago. I've been a pariah most of my life until I met up with Rayleigh and he taught me how to fight and use my haki. I love ramen even though thus far I don't know anyone who knows how to make it except for one person," Naruto said with dark cloud over his head while his crew just sweat dropped at his antics. "I also like to spend time with my friends and loved ones and strong opponents to fight. My dislikes are people who stab their comrades in the back," he said looking to all his crew members. "So just know if you want you're more than welcome to leave the crew, but if you betray us or sell out or anything to that nature, you will have signed your own death warrant." Everyone began to sweat from the killing intent he pushed out for a moment. "Other than that I guess it would have to be the world government and Naruto then muttered something to the point where the others couldn't hear him. "I'm sorry Captain, what was that? We couldn't hear you," came Sheena's voice right next to Naruto. I said that I hate GG ghosts," Naruto said looking over both of his shoulders. Sheena just shook her head with a smirk while Christy was having a giggling fit seeing the man who ruthlessly cut down a world noble scared to death just by the mere mention of a ghost. "Anyway, that's important, let's get back on track. I have a bunch of skills including using all forms of haki." "Wait, you can use Conqueror's haki," came the amazed voice of Rayleigh. Naruto simply nodded and released a bit of his Conqueror's haki, shocking his crewmates. "I have a special energy that allows me to walk on water, walls and ceilings. My devil fruit is a mythical zone type model. Fenrir the Unbound, you'll see it later on cause I don't feel freaking everyone on the ship out by turning into a giant flaming wolf. But by far my most powerful skill would have to be the art of riding seals. And before you ask, it has too many uses to list down, so just trust me when I say it'll come in handy a lot. Any skills beyond that? I guess I have strong talent for turning enemies into my greatest allies, so don't be surprised if that happens from time to time. Naruto said, thinking of Gaara specifically. Naruto then looked over to his right to see Shina, who now had on a blue jacket that cut off at her stomach. Also she now had on blue and yellow outlined forearm guards that turned into a fingerless glove. Well, my name is Shina Gato. I'm from an island in the South Blue called Flatland Island, which is one of Whitebeard's territories. There I was given my devil fruit by my father who had eaten the lion's form of my devil fruit. My skills include hockey, although I was only taught armament. I have full control over my devil fruit powers and I'm a hunter, so I am naturally good at tracking. My likes are hunting, relaxing, meat and the Whitebeard pirates. My dislikes are also the world government, poachers and obviously world nobles. Shina said quickly and leaned back in her chair looking her right. Well, I guess it's my turn to share, huh? Said Rayleigh. He leaned back and put both hands behind his head while kicking his feet up onto the table. Well, the name's Rayleigh Takagawa, but you can just call me Ray. I'm from Grand Line itself. I'm a orphan from Mocktown, which is pretty much a safe haven for pirates. My skills are fighting since that's what excites me most. Also I ate this own crow fruit, of which I have almost perfect control over. Oh and he muttered something looking away from the others. What was that? Shina asked. I said another skill was I'm a nurse. He said looking away as Shina began laughing and called him a sissy along with Naruto who was laughing and the others just laughing a bit more low-key. Shut up you cat. Rayleigh yelled at Shina who got a vein. Who you calling a cat? Bird brains. They were both about to get up and duke it out until Naruto quickly defused the situation while laughing. See, calm down you two, okay, just take it easy. Rayleigh, finish your introduction. Rayleigh just nodded while shooting Shina a dirty look. Anyway, my likes are fighting strong opponents, money and beautiful women. My dislikes are weaklings who try and start fights with me, other than that I'm golden. He said with a grin. He looked to his right seeing Eddie and Christy who was sitting on Eddie's lap. I guess I'll go first. Came Christy's voice. I'm Christy Montero, I'm from an island in the calm belt called Last Leg Island. I love calm seas and partying along with my boyfriend here. She said, giving Eddie a kiss on the forehead. I hate the world government for what they did to me and my family. My skills are fighting in my grandfather's style of capoeira, which is solely based on kicking with light use of the hands. Other than that I guess I'm a good cook. She then looked down towards Eddie. My name is Eddie Gordo and I come from the same island as Christy. My skills are similar to Christy's, except I'm extremely experienced in Rakishiki. I like helping out those who need it most and my friends. I dislike fighting when it's not necessary and I hate world government. Eddie sighed out before continuing. But that being said, I am a former member of CP1. Shina, Rayleigh, and Mitsurugi's eyes all widened a bit at this newfound confession. Naruto simply looked around. Can someone fill me in on what that is? Naruto said, completely clueless. Shina was the one to speak up. CP is short for Cipher-Pol. It's a secret branch of the world government that are pretty much used for all types of covert work, but that doesn't mean they aren't strong. I've heard stories of Cipher-Pol Zero being strong enough to fight on equal terms with an admiral. Shina finished. Eddie just nodded. You would be correct in that aspect. The 3 members of that squad are kept especially secret, no one except the admirals and above know who they are. The whole reason we were captured in the first place was because I attacked and killed the head of the CP1, because he told me if I helped him get a hold of a certain devil fruit, he would give me the money I need to cure my master, Christy's grandfather. Needless to say, he lied and I killed him as soon as I found out. Eddie finished, then looking to the last person in the circle. Well, my name is Mitsurugi, call me whatever you'd like for short, since we're all going to be comrades from now on. I come from Wano country in the New World. I set out on this journey to find the legendary sword Soul Calibur. Its power is said to be only rivaled by its opposite, the soul edge of which was lost in the oceans years ago before my time. My likes are drinking, eating, strong opponents and having a good time. My dislikes are scum with no honor like that of the world nobles and other wretches of the seas. My skill is my swordsmanship along with being able to use observation and armament hockey. Although I do find myself in need of 2 katanas. Mitsurugi said, finishing his introduction, then looking to Naruto. Alright you guys, when we reach the East Blue we'll be training for about a year. After that we're going to go looking for one of the Yonko, which one I haven't quite decided yet. But either way you all need to be at the top of your games for this, got it? After getting a nod from his crew, Naruto nodded back and began to walk off until he was stopped by the voice of Mitsurugi. Excuse me captain, but what are we going to do for a ship? I assume once the red-haired pirates are done training you, we'll set off by ourselves, correct? Naruto turned and got a fox-like grin. You are correct my friend, and as for a ship, well I think we'll just borrow one from the navy. Rayleigh and Shina just laughed and then glared at each other for laughing at the same time. While the other 3 just nodded. Naruto walked towards Shanks who was at the helm right now. So what do you think of your new crew members? Shanks said, not even looking at Naruto. They're all in good fighting condition and seem strong enough. It also helps that they all hold a strong dislike for the world government. Naruto said while Shanks just nodded along. When do you plan to tell them your ultimate goal? Naruto just took in a deep breath. Probably once I've become a Yonko, by then I'll be able to trust them all completely with my true history and we can start going to work on the world government. My only concern is picking up more crew members. You're the only Yonko without a large following, I'm not sure if that would put me at an advantage or disadvantage. Naruto said while thinking to himself. Just because I don't carry an armada around with me doesn't mean I don't have a large following, kid. I've got plenty of people ready to fight at my call. They're all just station places so not to cause too much attention. I'd suggest you do the same, it'll make people think you only have small following like you just did to me and it will allow you to gather more information much easier. Shanks finished his lecture looking at Naruto who was now deep in thought. Jiraiya did teach me some things on his spy network. With the technology in this world, getting information back and forth would probably be much easier. I should probably get a man on the inside of the Navy to help me with my information. That will have to come much later, right now Hancock will have to do, although I'm sure they won't share any important information with the 7 warlords, even if they're working for the government. I'll have to start here in the East Blue and slowly move my way to the Grand Line. This going to be an annoyingly long process. Naruto was brought out of his thinking by a slap to the back of the head. Ow. What the hell, Shanks? Naruto said looking towards his brother. You zoned out and I was trying to tell you that once we make it out of the Combelt, we'll be going towards a place called Cocasi village to restock. That'll be a good place for you to start up your spy network, since it's smack dab in the middle of the East Blue. From there, we're going to make our way to one of my islands to start your training. Oh, and we're gonna be making frequent journeys to certain island for partying, just a heads up. Naruto began chuckling while walking away from his goofy brother. If there was one thing he knew about Shanks in his short time of knowing him, it was that he loved to party. Whatever, Shanks, I'm going to take a nap. A week later near Cocasi village. Alright Naruto, we're close to the island. Me and my crew are just going to be restocking, okay, so it's just your job to get an informant in this village before we leave tomorrow. Shanks said as Naruto nodded, then walked towards his crew members. Hey, we're going into the village, whoever want to come, can come. He then turned around and began walking away. But to his surprise each one of them decided to come along with him. Once they weighed anchor, Naruto and his crew were the first off the ship. Everyone else had jobs to do before going into the town. Yo Shanks, I'll see you when I get back. Naruto waved as he and his crew got off the boat. Naruto began walking through down a long dirt road towards where he assumed the main town was. So anyone ever been to the East Blue before? Naruto looked to see everyone shaking their heads no except Eddie. Yay. I was here a couple of times during my time with the world government, came the voice of Eddie. During my time with CP1 the world government would always keep an eye out on this ocean, specifically in case anyone like Roger ever started to surface up, they wanted to stop it before it could start. Sheena then decided to speak up. I understand why they would do that. Roger was by far the greatest threat to them that they've ever faced. He was able to beat Whitebeard, who probably has the strongest devil fruit on the planet. Yet he himself didn't eat any devil fruit power whatsoever. Kind of a scary thought that someone could be that powerful. Oh, it's okay cat, we won't let any big bad pirates hurt you, Rayleigh said in a teasing voice, leaning over into Sheena's ear, only to receive a hard elbow to the gut, making him hunch over in pain. Ugh, Sheena just smirked as she kept walking while muttering, who's the now? After a little more walking, Sheena stopped dead in her tracks. Captain, I hear lots of shouting coming from the village and it's all in a single place. Naruto stopped for a second thinking. Okay everyone, do your best to hide your presence and watch from afar. Don't make a move until I give a signal, he said as he dashed away along with Mitsurugi following him. Eddie and Christy went to the right, Sheena went to the left, and Rayleigh turned into a normal-sized crow and flew towards the commotion. Once everyone was in a set position, they began to watch as a crew of fishmen were picking what looked like family. In the middle was a woman who looked like she had just gotten a bad beating and her left arm was totally broken. Ha 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 ha, all you humans are the same. Weak. The large fish man said. Arlong, you swear that you'll leave my girls alone? The fishman Arlong nodded. That's right, as long as you die. As he was about to kick the lady in the middle until a man in all brown uniform pulled out 2 pistols and began firing at Arlong. The bullets however were blocked by a different fishman who had a dark grey guy on and shark-like fins on his arms. The fishman followed up by slashing the man across the chest with a sword, enough to injure but not kill him. Right after that all of the villagers began coming down the road towards the fishman, charging at them. Naruto signaled for Eddie and Christy to stop them. Just as the two forces were about to meet, a blue slash-like beam cut between them, stopping both the villagers and the fishmen in their tracks. Once the dust had fallen, Christy and Eddie were standing with their backs to each other, Christy facing the villagers and Eddie facing the fishmen. Arlong then looked at the two with some minor irritation. Just who the hell are you two? Naruto then stepped out from behind the building, walking directly behind Bellemere. They are my crew members. Naruto said, getting everyone's attention. Most of all Bellemere, who didn't even hear this guy until he said something. Arlong looked towards him, getting even more angry. And just who the hell are you? Me? Naruto said while gesturing to himself. The name's Naruto Uzumaki, but that doesn't matter right now. Naruto said as he began channeling killing intent towards Arlong and his crew, making them feel a bit uneasy. What matters is that I'm giving you one just chance. Naruto then put up a single finger. Just want to leave this island and never return, or me and my crew will kill every last one of you. Naruto turned up the killing intent, making some of the fishmen shake. One fishman with 6 arms even began to take a couple steps back. Chahahaha, you're really funny kid, it's too bad you've got to die for threatening my crew. Kill this kid. Arlong said as a large light blue fishman began walking towards Naruto. Before he could make it halfway towards Naruto, he was tackled by a large cheetah that had sent him sprawling a couple feet to the side and had quickly bitten down into his jugular. As he began gurgling for hair, the other large shark-like fishman with a sword began charging with his sword in hand. Right as he was about to reach Sheena, he was punched by Black Fist that sunk all the way into his gut and sent him into the crowd of fishmen, knocking a bunch down. Naruto just smiled as Sheena began walking away from the now dead Chu and walked in front of Bellemere and the two young girls in a protective manner. Great timing, Sheena, Mitsurugi. Now where's Ray? Naruto asked, looking up into the sky. Right here, boss man. Came Ray's voice as he was on top of Bellemere's house in a crouched position with a pistol in his left hand. When Naruto looked up towards him, Ray gave him a mock salute. Well, good to see you're relaxing up there. Naruto said jokingly. That's it, you're all dead. I'm gonna kill all you vermin. Arlong yelled and charged at Naruto, who just smirked. As Arlong made a dash for Naruto, Naruto jumped over the girls and dashed at Arlong. He then unsealed his blade and with a single motion, moved his head out of the way of the punch that Arlong sent at him, did a spinning kick straight into Arlong's gut that sent him flying backward. Naruto just smiled as Arlong quickly got up and to his surprise, pulled out his teeth twice. Let's how you like this, vermin. Arlong shouted as he dashed towards Naruto again. Naruto's face lost its smile as he got a bit annoyed at this guy calling him a vermin. Naruto quickly swerved out of the way of one of Arlong's hand jaws and swung his sword across Arlong's body with one quick motion. Time seemed to slow down as Arlong took a couple more steps until the top half of his body slid off his bottom and he dropped down dead. Anyone else care to test their luck? Naruto muttered in a deadly tone as a couple fishmen booked it. The others were too angry that 2 of the crewmates, including their captain, had just been killed. As they charged, they were quickly dealt with by the rest of the crew. After everything was said and done, if any fishmen were around, they were on the ground dead. Everyone just stared in awe at these 6 people who had effortlessly dealt with the worst problem the village had ever faced. Well, what do we have here? It looks like I'll be getting a new promotion, came the very annoying voice of a rat-like man. You bastard, you've been letting these pirates do whatever they want and now you show up, shouted Bellemere. Naruto just shook his head in disappointment. A crooked marine. Just another reason I hate the world government. Ray, Eddie, Mitsurugi, get rid of all of them. Nezumi was about to scream but was cut off by a bullet through his skull from Ray. The 3 then quickly dispatched the marines. Hey, why don't you 2 go play with the pretty kitty while my friend helps out your mommy, okay? Naruto said in a gentle childlike voice. The 2 girls were a bit nervous as first but eventually started to play with Sheena when she bopped them with her tail. Naruto then ordered the others to help out in what way they could. He and Ray went inside to help Bellemere. Well, Ray did. Naruto just wanted to talk to her. Well, that was annoying. How long have those guys been here? Naruto dragged it out as if asking for her name. Oh, I'm Bellemere. And they've been here for about 2 months, although they just recently started causing problems. She said while looking down. Well, no need to worry though, I would like it if you could do me a couple favors in return. Naruto said while looking at her. Bellemere stiffened at what he said. Like what? She said suspiciously. Naruto just laughed and put his hands up in defense. And nothing bad, I promise, and it's all optional. You don't have to do anything you want. Bellemere relaxed greatly at hearing this. Okay then, I'll bite. What do you need? She said as Ray began wrapping up her wounds. Well, number 1, I would like to know where the Marines base and those fishermen's pirate base is. Naruto said while sitting back in a kitchen chair. Well, Arlong Park is just 3.5 miles east from here and the Marines base is on the other side of the island. Naruto nodded. Alright, second thing is that I don't have someone who specializes with guns on my crew. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind joining. Naruto said with smile. Wait a second, you do realize that I have 2 daughters to take care of, right? Naruto nodded. Yup, and since I'm pretty much the king of Amazon Lily, so they will be extra safe on that island. Naruto said as both Ray and Bellemere's eyes widened at that. I'm sorry but this is my hometown, I've got my oranges to tend to, and I love it here. So I'm sorry but I can't leave. Bellemere said with a gentle smile. Naruto sighed a bit in disappointment but smiled at her honesty. Don't worry about it, I wouldn't want to make you do anything you don't want to anyway. But there is one last thing I'd like for you to do for me. Once I go take one of the Navy ships at the Marine base on the other side of the island, I'm going to give you the number for the Den Den Mushi. What I want you to do is call me if you or the people here are ever in danger, okay? Naruto asked. Bellemere just nodded a bit confused. Also I want you to call me on any important news you might find out. Anything like important Navy plans or any up-and-coming pirates you might think are important enough to tell me about. Bellemere simply laughed and gave Naruto a knowing yet almost flirtatious look. So you want me to be an informant for you, is that it? She asked with one eyebrow raised. It was at this time Ray was finished bandaging her up and put her left arm in a sling. Naruto then told him to go help the villagers outside and leave him and Bellemere alone. Well yeah, I guess if that's what you want to call it. Naruto said, standing up and leaning against the wall. Sure. I can do that for you, after all that's not hard to do. Alfred, she let it hang in the air as she slowly got up and sauntered her way towards Naruto. Is that all you want? Because I could pay you with my body, she said in a seductive whisper right into Naruto's ear to the point he could feel her breath. Naruto though slid away from her. Cough cough, sorry, but I'm taken. Well, extremely tempting, no thanks. Bellemere then put on adorable pout. Oh, maybe next time. She giggled as she saw Naruto dart out the door. Whoever got him is one lucky girl. Somewhere in Amazon Lily, the Chubo Hancock sneezed. Bless you, sister. Are you catching a cold? Sanderson said. Thank you, and no, Naruto must be thinking about how beautiful I am. Hancock replied, getting a sweat drop from her sister. Arlong Park with Naruto and the crew. Alright, look for any that could be of use to us on future voyages. The six then split up looking through the giant building. After searching through the building, the crew had come out with multiple log posts and a couple at least 400 million biri. They gave the most of the cash they found to the village, since it was theirs in the first place. Ray had on a sleeveless black vest on and strap that held multiple pistols. You know, these guys had a lot of guns, surprisingly. The list of things continued on, like swords, blankets, jewelry. Naruto just nodded to himself and sealed all of the contents up in a scroll. So that's something that sealing can be used for. Came Shina's voice as she stood next to Naruto, who nodded. That is quite a handy skill to have. Said Mitsurugi, who was now sporting two katanas on his side. One was green and black while the other was all black, but the craziest sword he was holding over his shoulder. It was a giant saw-like sword with 6 shark-like teeth on one side. Holy shit, Mitsurugi, I see you found yourself a new toy. Naruto joked. Mitsurugi only laughed along. Yes, I found this sword to be quite impressive, not just because its sheer size, but it must have taken a master craftsman to create this sword. It truly is one of a kind. Mitsurugi said while taking a couple practice swings with it. Alright, let's get out of here. I don't want to miss the party they're going to throw. That night at the town party, Naruto was sitting in a chair laughing his ass off with his crew and some of the villagers who were telling some funny stories until he heard a small voice come from below him. Excuse me, mister. He looked down to see Bellemere's 2 little girls. Hello there, how can I help you too? Naruto said with a smile. We just wanted to thank you for helping out our mom. Nami said with a blush on her face. Naruto made a face. Oh well, you're welcome, and what would your names be? The 2 little girls just smiled. I'm Nami. Said the orange-haired girl. And I'm Najiko. Naruto nodded towards both of them. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you too. If you ever set sail onto the Grand Line and need some help, get my number from your mom and call me up, okay? Both girls nodded, then scurried away back to their home. The next day, after going back to Marine Base and picking up a ship, Naruto and the crew sailed back around to meet up with Shanks' ship. Oi Naruto, we almost sunk your new ship because you didn't warn us. Shanks joked. Yeah right, like you could sink a ship, Mr. Handicapped. Naruto teased back. Hey, wait a second and we can set sail. Naruto then flashed into Bellemere's house and left her a note and 6 of his Horatian kunais. The note had the Den Den Mushi transponder number and an explanation on the kunais. After flashing back, they set sail towards the island they would be training in. A little while later, Naruto got a call on his Den Den Mushi. Hello? Is this Naruto? Bellemere asked jokingly, obviously knowing it was him. Why yes it is, Naruto sang into the transponder snail, joking back with her. I just wanted to thank you for opening your arms out to help Nami and Najiko. You have no idea how much I appreciate that. Bellemere said sincerely. No problem at all, I meant what I said, and if they ever to set sail to the Grand Line, I want you to call me so I can lend them a helping hand if they ever need it. Also make sure they take at least one of the kunai with them and I'll be able to get to them in flash. Bellemere's eyes somewhat widened. So you really can transport anywhere you want as long as these things are in the area? Bellemere asked in amazement. As something to that nature anyway, I'll catch you around Bellemere, stay safe. Naruto said as he hung up. After following Shanks' ship for some time they came upon the island Naruto assumed he would be training on for a year. It was a small remote island that had tropical feel to it. It wasn't extremely large or small, it was about average. Naruto looked over to Shanks and shouted. So this is where I'm gonna be training for the next year with you? Shanks only nodded and smiled. Alrighty then, let's get to it. Naruto shouted again. Isclaimer, I own nothing. 1 year later. Well little brother, it's been fun, but it's time for us to get out of here. We've definitely spent too much time in the East Blue for far too long. Shanks said, putting both hands on Naruto's shoulder. Remember everything I taught you, and whatever you do, do not try to kill Whitebeard. Shanks said seriously. Mama, I know bro, don't worry about it. I actually decided about a month ago that I'm going after Big Mom, or better yet, she's going to be coming after me. Naruto said with a large grin. Shanks raised an eyebrow while looking towards Naruto's crew, who just shrugged. Shanks then let go of Naruto and took a couple steps back and crossed his arms. Oh, and how do you expect to make her do that? Naruto looked back at Shanks and shook his head. Now where would be the fun in telling you that? All I can tell you is that it's going to happen on an island called No Man's Island. It's pretty deserted cause it's in the calm belt and it's a little rocky. But besides that, you'll have to use your own methods to find out. Naruto said as he turned his head away from Shanks. Shanks got ticked off and punched him in the top of the head. You little punk, since when can you leave out details on your plans to me, huh? Shanks screamed as he shook Naruto back and forth, holding him by his jacket that Sanderson gave him. After a little while Shanks' crew was able to pry Shanks from Naruto. Naruto had swirls in eye from being shook so much. Ugh, red-haired asshole. Naruto muttered in a low voice. Once Shanks was on his ship he looked to see Naruto getting up. Oh, once you become a Yonko, call me up and we'll party. See ya later. Shanks yelled with his huge grin. Naruto just shook his head at his brother's antics. He then turned around to his crew of 1 year now. They had all pushed their training to the limit, knowing that they eventually would all face off against one of the most powerful pirate crews in the sea. The beast. None of them had undergone any physical change, except in the fact that they looked in better shape than they did before the training. Alright everyone, I decided we're going to get a new ship before we go take out Big Mom, got it? Naruto said with a smile as he got nods from everyone else. Also, I've decided our pirate crew's name is going to be the Maelstrom Pirates. Everyone nodded, thinking that to be an acceptable name. So where are we going to find this ship, Captain? Rayleigh said. Naruto put a hand on his chin as if thinking. Well, there's an island in the calm belt called Te1. It's supposedly a marine base with advanced ships being made there, and if there are some crazy ships being made, I want one. Naruto said with a nod. Said, of course, Te1 Island, that's where we're headed next. Before everyone could give a yes, Captain Mitsurugi stepped up. Excuse me, Captain, but I was hoping we could make a stop before going to this island. Naruto's eyebrows raised a bit before nodding for him to continue. You see, I have niece here in the sea. If my memory serves me correct, she should be around the age of 17, now her name is Kuina. I wish to bring her along on this voyage, as it was the wish of her late mother, my sister, that I eventually take up the mantle as her sensei. So please take me to her island. Mitsurugi asked his captain. Naruto just stood silently for a second before smiling. Set a course for her island, but Mitsurugi know that if she joins us as part of our family and our crew, she must be able to hold her own against the people we will soon come to face. Naruto said in a serious tone. Mitsurugi stared back and nodded at him and got back to his post. The beast. After sailing for a couple days they came across the island. Naruto allowed Mitsurugi to go get his niece. Naruto on the other hand had felt something very interesting on this island that he had to see for himself. Later on at night, a hooded Naruto found himself standing on the headpiece of a ship that happened to be a dragon. Naruto could only smirk and hope that this was the legendary Monkey D. Dragon ship. Naruto's hopes were answered when he had to spin around and block a kick that sent him flying towards the mast of the ship. Naruto flipped himself so he landed on the mast and used chakra to stick to the surface of the mast. He was even more surprised when he had to jump forward back to where he was to avoid being kicking into the ship by Dragon, who had appeared above him. Landing back towards the front of the ship, Naruto was now on high alert. He had slightly underestimated Dragon like an idiot. He should have known he was the most wanted man in the world for nothing. Naruto was brought out of his musing as Dragon appeared in front of him with a serious face. Who are you? Naruto could only smile more as he felt the power coming of this guy. Naruto Uzumaki is my name. And since you're probably wondering why I'm on your ship, it's to test myself against you. Naruto said as he pointed right index finger at Dragon. You see, soon enough I'm going to be taking on Yonko, so I'd like to see where I stand against the most wanted man in the world. Dragon's serious demeanor was slightly lost with slight grin and laugh. I can tell just by the fact that I was only able to sense you once you stepped foot on my ship, you're no slouch. But then again, kid, neither am I. Dragon said as haki began to come off of him in waves. So kids still think you got what it takes? Naruto had to admit if he had to guess Dragon's level, it would definitely be around Shanks' level. Though Naruto wasn't one to be shown up, so he also unleashed his own burst of haki. With both of these forces colliding, the air began to grow thick and spark of electricity could be seen from time to time. Naruto only laughed a bit before concealing his haki once again. "My god, what I came for," Naruto said with smile. "I'm confident that we faced off right now, you would probably be the one to come out with the win." Dragon stared at Naruto for a moment before laughing. "Well, now that you said that, wouldn't it be smart of me to eliminate you now? Since you could become the threat to me later on," Dragon said with an amused face. Naruto simply grinned at him. "Please, if we had fight to the death right now, I'm not sure this island would survive, let alone your ship. And I doubt you want to lose your men over something so trivial." Dragon's haki began to recede. "Well, you're an interesting one, alright, that's for sure. I'll be sure to keep an eye in the paper for you, Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto nodded and with that vanished in a yellow flash. A beast. Naruto appeared back on his ship. He then began heading towards his quarters when his crew stopped him. "Yo Captain, what the hell was going on? We could feel you and whoever else's power like you were standing right next to us," said Christy. Naruto laughed a bit. "Oh, that was just me meeting Monkey D. Dragon," Naruto said nonchalantly. He did however use the windows on the door he was about to walk through to see the reaction of his crew, which to say the least was priceless. Sometime later a knock came to Naruto's door. "Come in," Naruto said as the door opened to reveal Mitsurugi and behind him what looked to be a girl around the age of 17. She had dark blue hair which almost made it look purple in a certain light. She had on black jacket with blue pants and normal black shoes on. In her left hand was katana with blue wrappings on the handle. It also had dark blue sheath, and if one too were look at the blade itself, it would be completely pitch black. "Captain, I would like you to meet my niece, Kuina," Mitsurugi said as the girl walked in with a confident but respectful look on her face. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Captain Uzumaki," she said with a bow. Naruto laughed a bit and took her hand, giving it a light kiss. "No, the pleasure is mine, Kuina. If you're anything like your uncle, I can't wait to see your skills as a swordswoman," Naruto said, getting a slight blush out of her. "Mitsurugi, it's time we get going," Naruto said in a serious voice as he walked out onto the deck of the ship. "Alright everyone, set a course to TECH-1, it's time to go get our new ship, the Beast." After a couple days of sailing, the crew began to draw closer to TECH-1. Naruto had been focusing on what he was going to do about the world government. If he was to become such a threat that they wouldn't dare attack Amazon Lily, he would have to do a couple things first. Number 1 is send a message, and it would take more than just killing another Yonko to do that. They would see him as the weakest of the Yonko and try to destroy him before anything got started. While Naruto was sure he could kill an admiral himself, he knew if almost anything were added onto that he would be taking a huge gamble. So that meant that 3 total things needed to be done before he could keep Amazon Lily safe. Number 1 would be to get a group or army strong enough to be threat to the world government, so attacking them would be more trouble than it's worth. 2 would be to send a message that would get them to realize he's on par or greater than their admirals, and last, but not least, kill Big Mom. Naruto walked up to the main deck and called everyone for a short meeting. "Alright everyone, I told you all about the fact that this place is making the best ships the Navy is going to have in years to come, but what I didn't tell you is that this place will be guarded extremely, since not only is it their number 1 ship producer, it's also a secret prison." Everyone's reaction was among the same lines, surprised. "So what kind of criminals does it hold? If it's so secret, it's got to hold some heavy hitters, right?" asked Kuina surprisingly. "That's exactly right, so whoever we find will be joining us if I deem them acceptable crewmates. Kuina, Mitsurugi, Christy and Ed will be staying on the ship while the rest of us will go onto the island, break in and take whatever we find of value. Once we've done that, we'll take the best ship we can find and either head towards you guys or I'll send a blast of fire into the air, which will be the signal for you to come in and meet up with us, got it?" After a quick yes sir, he went back to quarters to get ready for the upcoming battle. After about 2 hours, when the sun had set, Naruto looked toward the island, seeing the tower sticking out above the trees. The island was split into 2 sides because of the canals running through the island. It was connected by the central tower, which also happened to be where the ships were being made. Naruto already knew, thanks to Shanks, that the prisoners were being held at the top of the tower, and at most there would only be about 10 prisoners. Naruto began running across the water at high speeds, while Rayleigh flew in low with Shina in his arms, much to her annoyance. "I swear, bird brain, if you even think of Cogna, I pluck each and every one of those feathers off of you," she said in a low and threatening tone. "DCHA cause you're so my type," Rayleigh said sarcastically. "Hell yeah, she's my type. Although it'll be a cold day in hell before I admit that," Rayleigh thought to himself as he landed next to Naruto and put Shina down. "Alright you two, this is all stealth at least until we free some prisoners to help us, got it?" Naruto said in a hushed tone as both Shina and Rayleigh turned into their animal forms and used their stealth to get around towards the tower. There were only a couple of men on patrol, so it made it pretty easy for a former ninja and a leopard to get through their defenses. Once close enough to the tower, Naruto had Shina turn back into her human form and had her get onto his back. He looked around and saw Rayleigh and Mao at the top of the tower. Getting a nod, the bird flew up towards the top, which was at least 8 stories high. Naruto put some chakra into his arms and threw his Hiraishin kunai up to the top where him and Shina appeared. Rayleigh was already waiting in his human form. "Okay, here's a hatch, let's go," Naruto said as they went down. Naruto soon saw the room they would drop into was complete circle, with 10 doors, not counting the barred doors that the guards were standing behind talking. One of them had a set of 10 keys on a ring that was attached to his hip. Naruto told Shina and Rayleigh to wait as he dropped down silently and slowly walked towards the 2 guards who had their backs turned. "Man, can you believe tomorrow they're finally gonna destroy that damned robot?" One of the guards said, making Naruto stop to listen to their conversation for a moment. "I know the thing's scary as hell. It's damn smart and whatever it's made of is almost impossible to break. Even Vice Admiral Garp was only barely able to beat the damn thing." This made Naruto's eyes go wide. Garp was known as the legendary fist and for good reason. Shanks had told him he was one of the people still alive that fought the Pirate King was able to fight him to come out alive. He also warned him if he ever had to fight Garp not to let him land a solid punch, cause that's all it would take if he got serious. Moving quickly, Naruto snaked his hands through the bars and stabbed both men in back of the neck and separated the brain stem from the spinal cord, killing them both instantly. Naruto grabbed keys from the man and looked around the room. He signaled Shina and Rayleigh to come down. As they did, Naruto looked around and only saw 3 people in the cells. Opening up the first, he found a tan bald man wearing a pair of black swimming goggles around his face. He also had on black boots, pants, and muscle shirt. The man was just sitting down as he had both arms chained up to the wall. "Yo, the name's Naruto Uzumaki. I'm looking for some people who would like to join my crew. You interested?" Naruto asked with a grin. The bald man simply looked up as if looking at him through the goggles. He then gave Naruto a wicked cool smirk. "Well, seeing as I don't really have any other choice, I guess so. You get me out of the dump and I'll join your little crew." Naruto smiled as his sword appeared in right hand as he held it by the sheath, and with 2 quick slices the chains dropped from around the man's wrists. "So got named stranger?" The bald man rubbed his wrists and looked up at him with a grin. "Yay, the name's Richard B. Riddick," Riddick said as he followed Naruto to the other cell. Once Naruto opened the cell, he was extremely surprised to see a 7-foot-tall broken-up robot with its whole left arm missing and part of its face and body gone. It was standing completely still like it was shut off. "Wow, well, who or what are you?" The robot's eyes lit up with an eerie blue glow. "Me, I'm a robot created by the great Vegapunk himself. I was created to kill all pirates on the Grand Line and then move on to the New World. Fortunately or unfortunately for me though, somewhere along the lines I gained a mind of my own and eventually was able to override my original programming and become independent. Once this happened, the world government ordered me to be disposed and took care of me as quietly as they could." Naruto looked at him with a questioning look. "I heard Garp had a hard time taking you down. If that's true, why didn't they just try to reason with you and have you do the job anyway?" he asked as Riddick, Shina and Rayleigh all stood beside him. They then heard some sort of morbid laugh come from the machine. "What exactly are your plans now?" Shina said, taking a step forward. "My plans? Well, if I were to get out of here and connect with my original body, my main goal would be to rip apart the world government piece by piece and completely obliterate them until not one piece is left." Naruto smirked. "Well then, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So that makes you my friend now, right?" Naruto waited for the robot to give his name. "Isn't customary for you give your name first, Naruto simply chuckled as Riddick grinned to himself, liking the robot a bit more. "How right you are, allow me introduce my crewmates and I. This is Richard B. Riddick, that's Shina Gato, and last but not least Rayleigh," Naruto said while gesturing to each person as he said their name. "I am Naruto Uzumaki, captain of the Maelstrom Pirates." The robot looked at them all and nodded along with the titles given. "My name is Ultron, and if you help me out of here I will help you destroy the world government. But know this, any orders given by you, captain, must be reasonable because I will not be made a puppet again," Ultron said as his voice got deeper and his eyes flashed red for a moment. Naruto smiled and put his hand out to shake Ultron, then quickly complying and shaking it. "Good, we have a deal, Ultron," Naruto said as he walked out towards the last door. As he opened it up, he smiled. "And who's behind door number THR?" Naruto's voice dyes his throat as soon as he saw the man sitting there chained up. "It would have been much more ironic if I was door number 1, wouldn't you say, brother?" Quicker than could be seen, Naruto slashed the man's cuffs off of him. "Gee, Gaara. How are you here?" Naruto stammered out as he looked at his long-lost brother. "I got the same deal as you. That man said I was to wait and you would find me," Gaara said with small smirk of his own. Well, welcome to my crew, Gaara. Naruto said as he gave Gaara a strong hug and then walked outside to the others. Everyone, this is Gaara, long lost brother. Gaara, that's Shina, Rayleigh, Riddick and Ultron. Gaara gave a slight nod to them. Alright, let's get out of here. Naruto said as he walked up to the gate and unlocked it. Captain, I know where my original body is, I can feel it's 3 floors down. Naruto nodded. Okay, you, Rayleigh and Riddick, go get your body back. Once you do that, meet us at the bay where the main ships are. When I was on the top of the tower, I was one of the ships, recently built ships docked. Me, Shina and Gaara are going to take the one with Leviathan written on the side. Ultron nodded and ran off with Riddick and Rayleigh. So Gaara, can you fight? Naruto asked as they walked towards a window looking towards the bay. Yes, due to my new powers I can make anything around me not living turn into sand. I believe it was the Sunasuna no Mi Paramisha type. Gaara said. Naruto was about to reply when base's sirens went off. Well, no need to be quiet anymore, do your thing. Naruto said, looking at Gaara, who nodded. Gaara then put his hands on the ground. Ground death. Suddenly everything from the top floor and the floor below turned to sand. Shina stumbles a bit as the ground changes and is caught a sand clone of Gaara. Hang on. Gaara says as they make their descent down towards the ship. Naruto throws a Hiraishin kunai down on the ship and teleports down. He then proceeds to begin slicing the crew members apart. Soon they hear an all hands on deck call as about 100 crew members fill onto the ship. A man with a vice admiral's jacket who has a scar going down his left eye and has a cigar in his mouth steps out onto the deck. Well, isn't this a surprise? You must be very clever to find this place. It's not even in any records the Navy has, so that begs the question, how did you know about it? The vice admiral asks with a smirk. Naruto smiles back at him. It doesn't matter how I know. What matters is that this ship is going to be mine along with the 3 prisoners I just broke out of here. Naruto said as he released an intense wave of Conqueror's Haki, making all of the men faint except the vice admiral, who was brought to his knees. The man looked up as he struggled to stay conscious. You won't get away with this, whoever you are. The second the siren went of Admiral Akainu was alerted. He'll be here in less than 40 minutes. The vice admiral shouted out. He smiled as he saw a shocked look on Naruto's face. It soon turned to one of confusion as a huge grin spread itself on Naruto's face. Perfect. This is the exact opportunity I needed. Naruto said as he began walking towards the vice admiral, who was still on his knees. Naruto then sheathed his sword and held it in his right hand as steam began to come off of his left and turned into a black cloud with red cracks of fire going throughout it. In an instant his hand ignited and was put through the vice admiral's chest. Thank you, Vice Admiral, you've done me a tremendous favor. Naruto said with sick grin. Gaara then landed on the ship with Shina. Gaara, do me a favor and clean the ship out. Gaara nodded and sand began flooding into the ship, grabbing anyone who was in it and pulling them out, then dumping them into the water, along with the unconscious men on deck and the dead vice admiral. Gaara, kill anyone who tries to get on the ship, and while you're at it feel free to destroy everything else on this island. This is going to be my message to the world government that they're not the only ones who can wipe an island off the map. Gaara nodded and began destroying multiple buildings and any marine unlucky enough to cross his path. Shina, go to the helm and see if you can get this ship ready to sail. Naruto said as Shina nodded and ran off towards the helm. Naruto then shot a fire blast up into the air, signaling the others to come to their point. Suddenly there was an explosion in the tower and a 9-foot-tall silver robot could be seen flying along with Rayleigh, each holding one of Riddick's arms, who seemed to a slight grin on his face, although both Rayleigh and Ultron were carrying a bag in each of their free hands as they flew. Soon they landed on the ship and Naruto took stock of Ultron's new body. He was completely silver with the exception of his now red eyes, and he easily dwarfed Naruto's by more than a couple feet. Ultron buddy, looking good. Think you can get this ship up and running? Naruto asked with smile. Thank you, Captain, this is my true form and yes, I can help. Oh, we should leave soon, this island will blow up in about 2 hours. I set the timer on the self-detonator. Naruto's eyes widened a bit and nodded. Ultron then walked off and dropped the bag. Naruto looked in the bag to see weird-looking guns. Then looked at Rayleigh and Riddick, who already had 2 holsters on them. Rayleigh had his holders behind his back, while Riddick had one on each thigh. He also notices Riddick had 2 blades behind his back. If he had to guess, they would probably be Ulax. Nice gear, what is all of it? Naruto asked. Riddick stepped up looking at all of it. Well, apparently they were on the verge of mass producing some new types of weapons. We grabbed as much as we could and then grabbed the blueprints and destroyed the rest of them. To be honest, I think we have the only blueprints left unless they have another island like this. And if they don't, well, we just set them back at least a decade or so. Riddick finished with grin and patted him on the shoulder as he grabbed the bag Ultron dropped. Just then the other ship decided to come up next to them. Alright, hurry up, get everything from that ship to ours. Gaara. Naruto shouted. Gaara then flew back over to the ship. This is the rest of crew, I need you to help get everything from that ship to this one, got it? Gaara nodded as everyone began getting to work. Naruto finally got to really examine the ship. It was very similar to large navy ship, except it had two 3-barrel cannons, one in the front and on in the back, and on each side, it had two double-barrel cannons. Overall it was a very impressive ship. Naruto, everything is ready. Mitsurugi yelled. Naruto nodded as they began to set sail toward the front of the island. Alright everyone, I want you all to start sailing away, I'm gonna stay here. Naruto said, much to the shock of his crew. Hey, don't worry about it, okay? I got my Hiraishin kunai here. So if I do get into deep, I'll just transport back to the ship. Naruto said with a smile and then got serious. Besides, killing an admiral right now would speed my plans up immensely. It's a chance I can't let slip away. This is a direct order, got it? Everyone nodded. Good, now set sail for Candyland Cove. I'll see you all in a little. Naruto said as he took off his jacket and gave it to Kuina. Keep that safe for me, please. Naruto then did a backflip onto the water and ran back onto the island. The beast, he silently stood on a rocky part of the island. It was pretty flat for at least a mile. After a while he sensed someone coming, someone strong. I guess Akainu finally got here, and he guessed right. Soon enough the red dog himself was standing about 25 yards away from him. So you're Akainu, huh? Naruto said, studying the man as he noticed the tattoo going up his neck. Hey, I know you. You're that magma guy I decked in the face back Sabaody. Although I guess you wouldn't recognize me since it was a sucker punch. Naruto though allowed, scratching the back of his head while looking down. It just gives me all the more reason to kill you, boy. Absolute justice will be dealt out here today, and then I'm going to find your crew and destroy them as well. Akainu said with deadly serious face. Naruto just laughed it off. Yeah right. You. Kill me. Ha. That's a good one. Naruto said. Akainu then grew a smirk that Naruto wasn't quite sure how he felt about. I suppose another good one would be telling you once I'm done with a lot of you I'll be going to that snake whore of yours on Amazon Lily for partnering with you. Naruto's eyes widened as the quickly flashed crimson red. That's right, boy, I know about you and her, and being an admiral, I have the right to revoke anyone's status as warlord. Once I do, I'm going to enjoy watching her burn alive. We'll wipe Amazon Lily from the map and from all of history in the name absolute justice. That is the fate you share with her, boy. Suddenly a huge blast of haki was unleashed from both men. Akainu was extremely surprised when his power was dwarfed by the boy in front of him. It was even making it a little tough for him to breathe, but he wasn't an admiral for nothing. Akainu looked at Naruto as red aura began to pour off him. His eyes were crimson red, and it almost looked like red glow was coming from his mouth, making him look truly demonic. Akainu, I was just going to leave you beaten and bloodied so you could go back and tell everyone what happened to you, but now you die. What if Naruto lived with Shanks in One Piece? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.